Hello and welcome to Sincerely Elvis Presley. I'm Sean. Thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Well, because I'm British, I'm going to have to mention the weather. For several days in succession, we've had warm weather, and us British, we love to bang on about the weather, and I'm no exception because it's so unusual for it to be hot here for a sustained period of time, and believe me, it still is. I wanted to just mention, before I talk about today's topic, video quality, just in case anyone's curious. So several weeks back, probably a bit more than that, I said that I'd found some new editing software which enabled me to upload in 4K, and I was chuffed to bits. Well, that editing software is actually YouTube Create, and it is really, really intuitive and great to use. However, when I did a couple of unboxings this week, when I went to upload back onto my device the actual content that I'd edited, the ability to put it in 4K had just been randomly removed, as had the ability to boost the volume, which is something that I'd been using, ever since I switched over to it as well. So hopefully, the drop in video quality, it isn't problematic to anyone, and I hope the sound's okay, because I was able to boost it and now I'm not. So thanks a lot, YouTube, for removing the two best features of your product. I mean, I know it's free, but who knows? Anyway, enough said. So, talking of those unboxings, the first unboxing was me showing my somewhat battered copy of the new FTD book, Elvis 57, The Final Fifties Tours by Alan Hansen. And I'm sure as I opened it, I didn't hide it very well, that I was a little bit underwhelmed by what I was seeing. I certainly wasn't blown away. So what I said I'd do is live with it a few days and sort of come back and see what else is out there offering a similar content and see how it stacks up. Now, it'd be a bit unusual to start a kind of review, if you like, by coming to a conclusion, but that's exactly what I'm going to do. My opinion hasn't changed, unfortunately. I really wanted to love that FTD book, and I really wanted to heartily recommend it to everyone, and unfortunately I can't either. Now, that is not reflective whatsoever of the text. Alan Hansen's text is superb. The way that he deals with those tours in 57, the way that he uses contemporary news reports, the way that he uses contemporary reviews, first-hand accounts and observations, it layers it and gives it a richness. I mean, everything is source material for him. So, if a particular newspaper article or review or whatever it might have been at the time was scathing, you see that, because not everyone loved Elvis. He wasn't popular with everyone, but it gives you that rounded picture. It really brings it to life. It's not just quite a straightforward, stale historical account. It's really well written. It's a fantastic read. But as I said, there is a way to read that's a lot cheaper than shelling out, what was this, £110, the FTD book. So what I thought I'd do, as soon as that book was announced, I kind of thought, well, that's been covered before in books, that period. Now, everyone that covers it ultimately always focuses on Elvis in the gold lame, because that's what he wore that year, although he only wore that gold lame suit in its entirety, jacket and trousers, for 3 concerts. So the gold lame suit itself, actually made by Nudie Cohn, and it cost $2,500. Now, Elvis was filmed for a publicity shoot wearing it February, March 57. These are the shots, the classic shot that adorns the Elvis Gold Records Volume 2. And then he wore it again on March 28th, March 29th, and April the 2nd in its entirety. Now, he did carry on wearing the jacket, but with black pants, and he wore that throughout 57 and sort of pulled it out the wardrobe again when he played the Honolulu benefit in 61. And then I think it went into mothballs and was never seen again, or certainly never worn again. Of course, it was seen again. It's been on display for a long time. But, so yeah, it's, you know, it kind of, Elvis and that gold suit kind of go hand in hand with 1957. The two are kind of inseparable, even though the full gold suit was only worn on 3 occasions. So what you find is that books that focus on Elvis live and Elvis touring in 57 will centre on the gold suit theme, inevitably. So what I want to do is I want to show a couple of books that came out before the FTD book, and hopefully I'm going to illustrate why, to me, unfortunately, I don't think that FTD book has done Alan Hansen's text justice. It's a bit of a letdown. You know, you may totally disagree. If you've already got your copy, you may disagree. And if you've got a copy come in, you know, I hope you get it, and I hope you do disagree, because there's nothing more worse than being disappointed with something that you've shelled out for and been looking forward to. But I've got to tell it like I find it, and I've got to give an honest opinion of my review's worth nothing. You know, I could sit here and say it's Elvis, it's fantastic, but you know, that's not how I see things. There are some things that are way better than others. And let me show you what I mean. So we will start with Elvis in Gold. This is a Joe Tunzi publication. It's, you know, I've said this before, I always feel I do Joe Tunzi a bit of a disservice by often starting with his books. But the reason that I do start with them is they tend to be, you know, smaller than some of the big coffee table volumes. They tend to be not as expensive, so I sort of go up in degrees almost of when I show these. This particular volume, you can pick it up. This was a strange one, really. I picked this up. So before Adrian, the guy that now owns the Great British Fan Club, before he took that over, going back about 3 or 4 years, I think, something like that, they seem to be selling off some of their stock. And this was on their website, and I think if I remember rightly, I think this was £14.95, and that was delivered. And it was funny because when it arrived, it was full of little post-it notes on certain pages. So, you know, it wasn't a new copy. Now, what they'd been doing with the pictures that they'd highlighted, I'm not sure whether them using them or something, or for reference, but you know, it was as good as new, but you know, £14.95. But as I say, Joe Tunzi's stuff, we know Joe Tunzi's, you know, a lot of black and white, but then a lot of these books have got a lot of black and white in. It just seems to be, you know, that era, a lot, especially the concert shots, a lot was in black and white. It is what it is. But there we go. Elvis in Gold. What year was this? This was 2009. And it covers, you know, the period that we're talking about. So you see initially the publicity shots when Elvis first gets his £2,500 gold lame suit, and he's got the matching gold shoes. And it makes me wonder, because really you only ever see like the odd shot from that photo shoot in colour. But if they shot that one in colour, did they not? I know there's another couple of alternate shots, but most of them you see are in black and white, unfortunately. So then we go to Chicago, Illinois, March the 28th, 1957. This is the first time Elvis wears the gold lame in its entirety for a concert. Here he is at a press conference prior to that. He's already got the shoes on. But I don't know if we've got any photographs of him. No. Because then we go to March the 30th. So we don't see March the 28th and 29th. Although we do get that shot of him on stage, which could well be from one of those two. It doesn't specify. Then we see him April the 1st, and he's got the jacket, but he's ditched the trousers, although he will get it back out for the following night. Another press conference. So this is when he's in Canada, in Toronto. So he's got the shoes again. That must be from April the 1st. And at this stage he starts having that guitar cover as well, with his name tooled onto it. April the 2nd, this is the afternoon show. And I don't know if April the 2nd in the afternoon he only had, I think he might have only had the jacket on and got the trousers as well for the evening show. But we'll clarify that with one of the books coming up. Some of the crowd. You know, this can't do what a massive luxury coffee table book can do, but as an overview, you know, I'm already seeing shots in here that I saw in the FTD book. And I don't want to sort of cast aspersions on the FTD publicity, but it said 300 plus, and I think the phrase they used were many of which are unpublished. I'm not sure many of them were unpublished, because you're going to be seeing in some of these books quite a lot of shots that are in that FTD volume. So what else have we got? So there's more shots of Elvis on stage. Well, maybe this is still the same afternoon show. That's the only trouble, I think, with the Joe Tunzi ones. It's not, it could just be me, but it's not always entirely clear what you're looking at. What a great action shot that is, because they're not often captioned, only the odd one. But I'm presuming we are still in Toronto. No, we're not. I must have missed that as I flipped through. Because here we are in Seattle, Washington, September the 1st. And he's got the jacket again there, but not the trousers for the performance. Tupelo, so that is the second Tupelo, Mississippi and Alabama dairy show that he played in '56. But he kind of comes back this time with his kind of now, for that year, signature gold lame look. So this is again, I really don't want to sort of sound sniffy and put this down, but this is almost like an aperitif. This one's a palate cleanser, because it's okay. It is a nice one to have, and it does have some great shots in it, but it just feels a little bit unsubstantial. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I kind of think full pages, when really about 2/3 of it are the photograph and the rest is just grey. Yeah, okay. But again, you know, it is what it is. Now, which one do I go for first? Let's go for one that focuses specifically on one night, because this isn't doing what the FTD book is trying to do and cover the entirety of 1957 and Elvis Live. This is just one night. Now, this is a guy, Paul Sweeney, who I believe was the person that located a stack of negatives from this performance in Toronto on April the 2nd, 1957, and that forms the basis of this book, and it really is quite quite a spectacular book. So although it's not doing the same as the FTD book, it's covering a show from that, that year. So definitely worth having a look at. And you even in here, you'll start seeing some of the photographs you'll see have been in the other book, and they're certainly in the FTD one. That's great. We get to see Elvis live on stage in we've got colour. But they're very, very rare. There's not many in colour. But these are just this book, the photography in it, absolutely fantastic. Now, I believe the last time I was aware, you could still get this direct from Paul Sweeney. He did have some copies left. I don't know if that's still the case, but worth having a Google and seeing what you can find. If not, it does turn up from time to time on eBay, but it's going to cost you £100 plus, I would have thought. There we go. There's one of the press That's the press conference prior to that performance, and Elvis has his shoes that he'd wear for the performance, and he's got like a frilly shirt, a glittery belt by the look of it, and like a bomber jacket. I'm not sure if that was the red bomber jacket that he kind of favoured a lot and wore for some of the Jailhouse Rock shoots. It was certainly on the Jailhouse Rock 45. I think that's the same one with the black trim on, but hard to tell from black and white. So you get a fair few photographs at the press conference. Elvis in very candid moments, looking quite assured and relaxed, and very, very cool. And it's worth pointing out that none of these books, in terms of the writing, do what the FTD book does. So these will give you contemporary accounts, newspaper clippings, that kind of thing, but they don't have the overarching narrative strength that the FTD book has. So it's very, very notable that they're doing different things. These ones that are published by Eric Lawrenson, they're not just photo books, because they do also include contemporary accounts and information. So you do get a feel for the time, and you do get perspectives from the time of what people were thinking and saying. So they're not just photo books, but they don't have a cohesive overarching narrative that Alan Hansen has done for and is used in the FTD book. So in terms of these are great shots. Elvis messing around backstage. He's on having some race on some like warehouse trolley, equipment trolley stuff, messing about. How candid is that? Brilliant. But so yeah, none of these books can compete with the FTD book in terms of the text and the narrative, because Alan Hansen's text is fantastic. But in terms of photography, yeah, I think that's a different matter personally. I really do. Okay, so we seem to get more backstage than we do the actual performance, but they're great photographs nevertheless. Great photographs of that. Looks like she's telling them off. Now we're on April the 3rd, so we've flipped to April the 3rd, and we've got some shots of Elvis with his jacket without the trousers. Yep, I think that is that red jacket, because though it looks maroony there, you can see there's kind of almost a filter on that photograph. So if you took that away, I think that probably would be that red bomber that he favoured, which would make sense in 57, wouldn't it? You get some fabulous photographs. Look, So this is a really, really nice book, and this one comes super highly recommended from me. Just an encapsulation. I've said before, these ones that you get ones that just focus on a particular tour maybe, or a particular, but this is just really, by and large, just one, as it says, one night. And just look, all right, that's a different night, but that's just kind of the intro and intro really. So, as I said, this isn't doing what the FTD, and it's not trying to do what the FTD book does, but it's covering a similar timeline, and I think this one's fantastic. Now, that brings me to another Eric Lawrenson, and this, A Touch of Gold Lame, in terms of a photo record, does pretty much do what the FTD book does. In my mind, it does it better. So it's funny actually, because one of my subscribers, Steve, hi Steve, actually said in the comments when I did an unboxing that at least the white pages of the FTD book didn't make it look as drab as this A Touch of Gold Lame. And I replied and said, actually, I really like the black pages in this. I think it gives it a real feel and point of difference. So it just goes to show how different people see things in entirely different ways. And we all do. And that's what makes it quite challenging to do a review. And I'd like to quantify that a little bit, because some people all over, not just to do with Elvis, I mean, everywhere, on YouTube or everywhere, will show you something and tell you they're reviewing it. And I don't think that's strictly true, because that's almost a show and tell. I think if you're going to review something, you've got to give your opinion on it, and that opinion might not always be that you think it's fantastic, but I think you owe it to the product to be and the people that will be watching it to give as constructive an opinion as possible. And I don't really enjoy putting things down, and I certainly don't do it for the sake of it. But that just goes to show that I might sit here and say, well, I don't particularly like that, but someone that might be watching it might be sitting with it in their hands going, well, I think it's lovely, and you don't know what you're talking about. So it is, it is a very sort of subjective thing. But all I can do is give my opinion. That's really all I'm able to do. And my opinion is that this is a superior photo record of Elvis in 1957, certainly live, than the FTD book. So this is Elvis. It's called A Touch of Gold Lame. So it says greater than ever on the front, which is kind of they've ripped that off their sort of tagline for Jailhouse Rock. So it's 57. But hopefully you'll see what I mean, why I think this is better. It's just packed with the most glorious photography. Its layout is really good. It's got a big plus in its favour in the fact that it's edited by Gordon Minto, who really does know what he's doing when it comes to Elvis books. And interestingly, I think Gordon actually wrote the forward intro to the book. But interestingly, you get a bit of history of the Gold Lame. You get the releases that it was on. You get the publicity shots of Elvis wearing it. But what's interesting is the first page I'm looking at is by Alan Hansen from his www.elvishistoryblog.com, May 2014. So, that's quite ironic. Here I am saying that I think this one's a better photo record, but the text of that one is better. But Alan Hansen that wrote that appears on the very first page of this, which is quite ironic. But, just the way this goes about it, the way that it presents the photography, the layout of the book. Personally, I don't want to overstate it, but I do think it kind of blows the FTD book out of the water. Now this is still available. This will turn up on eBay from time to time, and you could be paying, if you get lucky, about £75. You can get it straight from the Elvis Files website, and there it will cost you, I think, about £95 last time I looked. So, you know, it's getting up there with the cost of the FTD book, but just look at that layout and sort of, you know, keep that in mind for when I just pick up the FTD after this. Just look. Page after page after page. And I really like the black background on the pages. I just think it makes everything pop. But it really is fantastic. This to me is one of Eric Lawrenson and the Elvis Files' best books. I think it's fantastic. As with the other one, you know, you get a lot of contemporary newspaper accounts and reports printed in it, so it isn't just a photo book, but it's so much. It's just, it could just be me, you know. That's highly possible. You may be looking at it thinking, no, I don't like that, it looks horrible. As I said, it's all very subjective, isn't it, this, but, you know, just, yeah. The art direction and the amount of photographs that they're packed in and the quality of the photographs that they're packed in is staggeringly good, I think. There you get like a transcript of the press conference for one of the shows. Not sure which one we're at. I haven't been paying attention, actually. I've just been waffling. But, and I say, this covers pretty much the entire period that the FTD book covers. It starts in, you know, as it says on the back, this was Elvis in the year of 57. And, yeah. I do like the fact that although the pages are black, you know, they're quite a lot of the headings, they mix the colours up and inject a bit of colour into the sort of black and white. But yeah, I mean, as I said, I don't want to be down on the Tunsey book, but if you look at this in comparison with it, it just doesn't compare. And I know they're trying to do different things and they're at different price points, but yeah, I just think for Elvis and 57, this is as good as it gets. It's every page is jam-packed, and it's, like I said, it's not just photographs, it's a lot of contemporary reports and what have you at the time. So yeah, I give this a huge, hearty recommendation. Yeah. Oh, it's finished. When we go to Hawaii there. Right, so A Touch of Gold Lame. Now the FTD book. Why was I underwhelmed? Well, I mean, we'll ignore the battering. I've got over that now. Right, point one. Why? Now, you could say, well, FTD, it's basically a record label, isn't it? That's what it was set up for. So, you know, whenever they've produced books, they've always put a recording with them, whether it's been a CD. Or in recent times, some of the bigger sets, they've started putting 45s in as well. But I don't think they need to. There is a precedent. A Moment in Time, 4 Days in 56, didn't have any kind of recording with it. So I don't know whether did that not sell well and they thought, oh no, we've kind of taken a step away there, you know, we should be putting. But I don't know, it just feels to me that, you know, it's not, I don't think the design of the cover's particularly great. You know, there's nothing in there anyone that's going to be buying this hasn't got. You know, for novelty collector value, fair enough. But all you've done really is increase the price of the book by putting that in. Does it add anything to it? I think it adds absolutely nothing to it. Let me know in the comments if you think differently, but to me, that's just a token gesture. At least with some of the big sets, you know, like the Jailhouse Rock, they did a replica of the Vince Everett single that was in the movie. There was a kind of a purpose to it. The Burning Love kind of replica that was in the Now in Person 72 kind of, but that, they've just created that to create it, haven't they, really? Just to give you something with it. So I'm not a fan of that. And now, you know, look at this compared to the book I just showed. I think it looks quite boring and bland. And I can't believe I'm saying this about an FTD book. Every time I've shown a group of books, and they're usually the same culprits, Joe Tunzi, Eric Lawrence, and then FTD. That tends to be the bulk of them. I think pretty much without exception, I have always said at the end, the FTD is the best of the bunch. It's the gold standard. Excuse the pun. I don't think this is. I don't think this is. I really don't think they've kind of done Alan Hanson's wonderful text justice. You know, if a load of these are unpublished, then I'm shocked. I'm sure there are some. The majority, though, no. Yeah, just compare the layout of those press conference with that touch of gold lame, and yeah, I don't know. I'm not liking the way I'm going this, but I think it looks dull. I think it looks like a dull textbook. I really don't think they've done that text of Alan Hanson's justice. And there's a couple there that look like they've been AI enhanced too much, and they don't look. That one's, the clarity on it's not great. Looks like, yeah, that's a really common shot. I'm sure that's in all, at least two of the others. I'm pretty sure they are as well. Great photographs. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong. Anybody coming to this fresh that hasn't seen this stuff before will be opening this up and looking at those photographs and being blown away, and quite rightly so, because Elvis looks fantastic at this period. Absolutely fantastic. I just don't think that this is up to the standards of the usual FTD books. Those photographs, they're definitely in touch of gold lame. So yeah, I'm not sure if that, I mean, obviously I haven't gone through them photograph by photograph for comparison. I do have some kind of life. It might be hard to believe, but I do. But yeah, I think that expression says what I'm thinking. You know, I'm really disappointed to have to say it, but I don't think this is the way to go. £110 for great text and a kind of mediocre presentation. If you want my opinion, if you want Elvis live in 1956, find that on eBay for about £75 and get the original Final 50s Tours by Alan Hanson. You can pick this up somewhere between 14 to 15, 20 pounds. If you look hard enough, you can. So you would be looking, as long as you get, you know, as long as you get this at the right time, get it for a decent price, but £9,500 for the two, you will have a fantastic account of the Final 50s Tours, I know I said before that Alan Hansen said he'd corrected the odd error in the new text, but I'm not gonna big that book up just for that. So I would go this, and I would go this. And if you you're on a restricted budget, and let's face it, those FTD, that kind of thing, £100 for a book is luxury. If you're on a smaller budget, 20 quid, get this on the right sort of day, 30, 40. Obviously this isn't doing in the same kind of style and detail that the others doing, but yeah, I didn't think I would ever, from the strength of FTD and everything they've put out up to this date in terms of their books, I would be sitting here and not saying that their book is the gold standard. The gold standard is Alan Hansen's text, but yeah, I'm just extremely kind of nonplussed by that release. And it's funny because people have said to me in the comments, sorry that you got a battered copy, Sean. That's a real gutter sort of thing. And the funny thing is, I'm kind of okay with it because I don't love the book. If it had been the Madison Square Garden book or something, I'd be distraught. But I'm kind of okay that it's got a bump corner because I'm just not that impressed with it. I'm really sorry, and sorry FTD, but I think you probably need to reassess your remit on your books. There's nothing unreleased anymore, is there? There's nothing you're going to give us that we haven't heard. So why do you always feel the need to put some kind of music in there? It doesn't need it. All you're doing is increasing the cost of it. It really doesn't need it. I mean, look what you did with the King Creole book, and you put that really nice 10-inch in there, but you didn't make the hole big enough to store it. So, do yourself a favour, bring the cost down, bring your sort of production challenges down by just making the book, which means you could probably get them out on time. Although this one wasn't late, but this is, as we know, that's unusual for FTD. I just don't think, I think you're losing sight of what you're there for. You're a collector's label, but you're still outputting collector's stuff. You're still putting out vinyl. You're still putting out CD sets. You're still putting out soundboard recordings. So when you release a book, you don't necessarily need to put something in there for the sake of putting it in there. Again, just my opinion, but that's all I've got. So there you go. Look, I hope that was of some use. If you've got the book and you love it, brilliant. As I said, it's all subjective. If you got the book coming, please don't stop looking forward to it, because this is just my opinion. And I'm not always right by any means. But, maybe, just maybe, if you're someone that was sitting on the fence and wondering whether to get it or not, that might have been enough of an opinion to help in some way. Maybe if you're one of the people that I'm sure, finds luxury items to that beyond the means, because it is a lot of money, then hopefully, you won't be so bothered if you're not going to get it, because it's certainly not worth, saving your pennies up for, in my opinion. So, there are better things out there to shell your hard-earned cash out on. But anyway, bit doomy and gloomy, I'm afraid, but I promised I'd come on and give my opinion, and that's my opinion. I don't think it's that good. Caveat, the text is, but you can get the text for 20 quid. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching. I hope it was of some use. I hope I haven't sort of annoyed anyone, because, as I said, it's my opinion, and you may have a completely different opinion, which is fine and how it should be. But I think I come from a position where I've seen enough of these things to kind of know when I open them up, wow, or kind of, and this one was a bit, unfortunately. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Have yourself a great weekend. If you're in the UK, try not to melt. I hope that you'll be able to join me next time. I think next time, actually, I'll probably be having a go at another book. But this isn't going to be my thing, don't worry. This isn't going to be the let's listen to Sean whinge for half an hour. But something came through my mailbox that, yeah, I don't even know what to say. You'll see if you can tune in next week. But anyway, till then, have a great week. Take care of yourselves, whatever you're doing. Ta-da.
We'll meet you again. May God bless you. Adios.